and other constraints, it means you were not prepared for your winter schedule. Then why then did you go and ask for a 9% increase in flights over summer, which you managed well, and then you've taken it up to 15,014 flights this winter? Clearly, the DGCA must look back, roll back their schedule, and then start looking at whether they have the numbers. Every airline, and like Captain Thomas pointed out, every other airline does a dry run before a schedule is prepared. You do it on your roster, you run it on your rostering system. I've been in operations as well, and I understand this, and we check.
All right.
We also have a buffer. And the
Mr.
other
Lazar,
thing
I'm going to come back to you in a moment because my correspondents are also standing by. They're outside airports that have been impacted. We have Uma Sudhir joining me live. I have Tejsri as well as Vishwas. Now I'm going to go to Uma first. Uma, you're outside the Hyderabad airport, I believe. Just tell us what's been happening there. Okay, we seem to have lost Uma there. Vishwas, the same question to you. Tell us what's happening outside the airport. Massive chaos for day 3?
Yeah, of course, you can see the massive chaos at Jaipur airport since morning. People are here. They are questioning to the, Indigo personnel that what is the status of our flights, and many flights got cancelled yesterday, and almost 4 flights have cancelled yet, and 11 are delayed, and people are here waiting since morning, since yesterday for their flights. You can see this massive chaos. They are, arguing with the personnel. They want the answer, but they are not getting any kind of, satisfactory statement from the personnel of Indigo, from the employees of Indigo. And you can see I have a passenger with me, and he had the flight to Bengaluru yesterday when your flight was scheduled, and now what's the status?
See, yesterday we had a flight at 5:35 to Bangalore from Jaipur, okay? And then we came here around 12:30. That's when there was no update online. There was no other update. It was just updated on the airport that the flight is cancelled. On the screen. Yeah, on the screen. So we came here to talk with those people, and there they have no answers. We asked them why the flight was cancelled, what was the problem. She had no answer for that. We asked for a solution. The only solution that she gave us was you wait for another 12, 13 hours, 11 hours in the airport. We'll give you a flight to Delhi. You go there, wait for another 6 hours, and then we'll give you a flight to Bangalore. So the whole day, he has to go office, my dad has to go office. I was traveling with my mom also, it was 4 of us. So the whole day we are supposed to sit here and wait.
What is the schedule for today?
Today, we had no other option. We booked a room nearby. We went there.
Clearly you can see miscommunication is also the problem, which creating a more chaos. You can see because the Indigo airline, the staff is not communicating well to the passengers that what is the status for their flights, and when they come to the airport, then they got to know that their flight is cancelled, their flight is rescheduled. Yes, you were saying something.
Yeah. So initially they told that they have the other flight booked, but then when we said we are okay with it, suddenly they were like there are no seats available.
All right. So viewers, you can hear the agony, the angst, the anger when it comes to these passengers because there's no information also trickling down to them. Captain Sam Thomas, you were talking about the new roster rules, and we were also discussing how they're also passenger friendly. Could you tell us more about these rules, how it also relaxes the pilot hours by a bit for our viewers to understand what they're all about? And it's interesting because it's not just for Indigo Airlines, it's for all the airlines across the spectrum.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, to call it pilot friendly would not be entirely accurate.
I said passenger friendly, sir. That's what Mr. Lazar had said.
Yeah, okay. Now, I don't know how this is going to be passenger friendly, but be that as it may. Now, the rostering rules that we had earlier were very regressive in nature and were not based on scientific principles. Now, the progressive countries in the world have implemented something called a fatigue risk management system. Based on that, detailed studies done on how fatigue can affect a normal person, more so a pilot who's doing a very critical job, and most importantly, a mistake that can happen due to fatigue can cost not only his own life, but also the life of all the passengers. Now, with all this done in place, in phases, a new rostering system was put in place. That's the new flight duty time limitations. The airlines went crying and said, we don't have time. So the DGCA gave them some time. Then they further went back and said, we're still not up to the mark. So then the DGCA said, after a year, so let's implement this in phases. Now, phase 1 was implemented, and then now came phase 2 in November. Now, for you to suddenly get up and say that I don't have pilot, particularly when the Honorable Civil Aviation Minister has said on the floor of the Parliament that we have sufficient pilots. Now, what we are missing out here is the lack of accountability. See what the ground staff have to go
Yes.
through. The passengers are going to be really violent with them. They have no information.
Absolutely.
What is the management doing? They are the low-hanging fruit, and I pity the ground staff. They have no information. They have to cook up something and let them know. What we are missing out is how blatantly the airline management thought that they can throw tantrums and get away with it. Fortunately, this time the DG, Dr. Faiz Ahmed Kidwai, is somebody who has subject matter knowledge. And that is the reason why these people are not finding it that easy to circumvent the law.
All right.
This is the result.
Mr. Lazar, let's just talk about the DGCA meeting. What should we expect from that? Are we expecting penalties of sorts as well? Because one airline, which is perhaps the biggest airline in India, Indigo Airlines, has created complete chaos. If you read their statement, they've given several reasons for why this has happened. Like you had Captain Thomas say, there's very little accountability at this point from them, be it at the level with passengers or even the levels above.
You're right, Vedika, and zero accountability is what we see. And even the statement, I'm sorry to say, was a very wishy-washy. It named
generic
so many
statement, yes.
And I hope that the DGCA pinpoints accountability, who is responsible, what are the causative factors that cause this entire imbroglio, and very importantly, what are the steps to rectify? I can only see, number one, roll back their schedule. They'd have to curtail their schedule and implement it. Number two, ensure, this hype about blaming pilots, some have blamed the cabin crew disappearing, and it's all incorrect because it obviously means that you're not in control of your own systems and rosters. The other thing is, passengers. And I've been a great votary for a passenger charter. India has perhaps the worst passenger charter in the world, and we need to strengthen that. We are looking at airports where lakhs of passengers are screaming out loud for want of a better, option. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
My family was coming from Bangalore. They were at the airport yesterday. They came and reached Pune. This morning, they couldn't land because the airport was full of people, aircrafts. They diverted to Mumbai. And in Mumbai, they spent 4 hours on the aircraft. Now they're coming by taxi. Ironically, another flight, Indigo flight from Chennai to Pune, has landed and the passenger has not been let off for 4.5 hours. So this is chaos. I mean, somebody has to, heads must roll. Like Captain Thomas said, heads must roll because something really seriously wrong here.
And obviously, even, the brand, the reputation is at question here. But Captain Thomas, coming back to you, the FDTL norms, being the president of the Pilot Association, what's the feedback you've got on this?
Well, the feedback we got is positive as far as the FDTL implementation is concerned. It's by no means comprehensive. It's way better than what we had earlier. And it's a step in the right direction. We must give the regulator also chance to figure out whether he is going in a direction which can balance both the commercial operations as well as the flight duty time limitations and the risk mitigations attached to it. Now, with the advent of the fatigue risk management system, you see, the problem that the pilots were facing is there is a team from the airlines that are always looking, and I don't feel nice talking about it, but it is one of a team that always looks to circumvent the law. Any law is given, people look for loopholes and how they can be sort of circumvented at all times. You see, there is a provision, or rather there is a move to stop pilots from joining other airlines. And also there is a provision to not give them the requisite rest, or let me give you a simple example. when the rules say that you can do 2 landings at night. It's a very critical rule. Between 2 o'clock in the morning to say 6 o'clock in the morning, you can do a maximum of 2 landings. What the airlines have been doing is make a pilot do 1 landing at 2 o'clock in the morning, then send him as a passenger to another place where he has flown through that entire sector, then make him do the other landing. So that you have complied with the law, but you have broken the complete spirit and nothing to mitigate that.
Absolutely, and I really commend you for using that phrase there, breaking the spirit. Mr. Lazar, before I let both of you go, have you ever seen something like this before? This utter chaos that we're seeing. And like Captain pointed out, this is circumventing the rules. Who will put an end to it? It's always the case that the loopholes are found and maximized. And in this case, we're seeing not only passengers being harrowed, the staff on the ground who should not be held accountable, but obviously on the direct line of fire, and of course the pilots as well.
Yes, ma'am. Vedika, I have not seen something of this extent unless, it was war or really terrible, fog-like situation in Delhi, which had, a couple of years back, which impacted flights for 3 to 5 days and more than one airline. But this is significant because it also addresses another point, this duopoly between Air India and Indigo, where they control 94% or 93% of the entire market. Indigo controls 63+%. So any problem at Indigo is going to affect the country. So that's something that we need to look at.
Right.
And the other thing is that we need to look at circumventing of rules. Rules must be followed not only in letter but in spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will have to leave it at that. But Captain Sam Thomas, as well as Mr. Lazar, thank you so much for bringing such deep perspective into an issue that's impacting thousands across India. But now we're going to go to the ground as well. Uma Sudhir has been standing by along with Tejsri as well as Vishwas. But Uma, coming to you first, what's the situation in Hyderabad? There's been utter chaos across the country. What's the latest you have for us?
So at least 70 flights that are either arriving or departing from here have been cancelled, and that's the reason why there is such a long queue at the Indigo counter itself, where people are trying to inquire about the delays that have happened and also the number of hours that they are spending here, when they can get out of this. I'll start with you. How long have you been here? What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Anil Matthew. I live in Pune. I had this flight at 8:50 last evening, and initially we got messages that the flight is delayed by 1 hour from 11:15 to 2:15, then 6:15, and finally after a lot of chaos they have allowed to board a flight at 7 in the morning, and again we noticed that only the hostesses were there, and the captain and the commanding the first officer was not there in the flight. We were made to sit in the aircraft for more than 3 hours. Then after a lot of hue and cry, 2 pilots came in. Again, after some time, they announced that they are not getting the ATC clearance from Hyderabad, and they're also not getting the parking bay in Pune either. So this has
so it's just getting compounded more and more.
More and more. Actually, the fact of the matter is nobody has slept. I mean, I was told that the counters of Mumbai flights, they had been waiting since yesterday 2:30 in the afternoon, and they left in the morning. I'm not sure even they have been made to sit in the aircraft, and later on they have been evacuated. I'm not very sure about it, but this is what happened. Finally, I have given up. The flight has not took off till now. Now it is 12:26. The flight is still there. They are claiming that the approval is.
So you have not slept all night.
All night nobody has slept because senior citizen, women with small kids, and it was more of a harrowing experience. I never in my life I have seen such a worst experience.
All right.
And from a leading airline like Indigo, which is commanding 67% market share.
Yeah. What is your story?
Yeah, madam. Actually, I'm waiting from since morning. First message I have got that Indigo flight has been delayed. Your flight is delayed for 2 hours. Now again I got a message that it is delayed more 4 hours. Actually, I got a meeting in 8 o'clock in Mumbai.
You had to miss that as well.
Yes,
so let me
yes.
just go across to one other person.
All right, we'll go back to Uma there. But Tejsri, very quickly, if you could recap for us that all-important crucial meeting with the DGCA, where Indigo officials will also obviously participate, tough questions to be asked. Moreover, the question over accountability. Look at the chaos all around in the national capital and beyond.
Well, absolutely quickly summing up so as to what will be happening over here at the DGCA from where we are reporting right now. These are the visuals that we are giving you just outside the Office of Director General of Civil Aviation, wherein any time from now, the officials from the Indigo will be coming over here. Tough questions will be asked to them so as to why this is happening only with the Indigo, who is accountable about it, and the kind of manner in which the communication the Indigo is holding with the passenger, that is also quite poor. Not just that, but also what's next to the passengers whose flights are cancelled, who are stranded there at the airport for more than 10 to 14 to 12, 16 hours. And why it is happening only with Indigo? What about the other lines? And should Indigo behave in such a manner at a point of time when Indigo is said to be one of the largest flight networks? Not just that, but the information about FTDL was given way before. And then why now at this point of time when the information was given way before? This is also one of the reasons cited by Indigo, that these are the reasons, the change in the timings, the reduced hours for the flight for the pilots and the cabin crew, and also another reasons that they are citing about the winter season and all other reasons that are also impacting to the delay in the flights, the cancellation in the flights. Well, this is not for the first time that we are witnessing problem with Indigo. This has been forever. But now let's see what happens when these meeting begin.
Absolutely, and we'll bring all the inside track details when that meeting commences. Last word with Vishwas. Vishwas, how badly is Jaipur impacted? Very quickly, just give us an update.
Yeah, of course, it has created a huge impact, huge chaos at the Jaipur airport also, because you can see I have spoken to the passengers in the morning. I have met a couple who has recently got married, and they have a reception at Nagpur, and they have to reach here. But by today they have to reach Nagpur. But due to this flight cancellations and this whole disruption, they couldn't meet the guidelines, meet the their timeline, and this huge disruption is creating impact on the assignments of the passengers as well. Someone has to attend the meeting, someone has to attend a wedding.
Heavily impacted, viewers, and that's the biggest takeaway. There are questions that Indigo must answer. There has to be accountability, and there cannot be any circumvention of the rules in place. We have breaking news coming in. Big allegation by Congress senior leader Rahul Gandhi, and this is to do with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president's visit, which will commence this evening. Rahul Gandhi has said whenever foreign guests arrive, the government does not allow the opposition leaders to meet them. This has been the practice since the beginning, but it is no longer happening. Perhaps there is a sense of insecurity.
जनरली सरकार की पॉलिसी है, नॉर्मली ट्रेडिशन होता है कि एलओपी के साथ जो भी बाहर से आते हैं उनकी मीटिंग होती है। ये वाजपेयी जी के टाइम होता था, मनमोहन सिंह जी के टाइम होता था, ये ट्रेडिशन रहा है। बट आजकल क्या होता है कि जो फॉरेन डिग्नेटरीज आते हैं या जब मैं कहीं बाहर जाता हूं तो सरकार उनको सजेस्ट करती है कि एलओपी से नहीं मिलना चाहिए। तो ये इनकी पॉलिसी है, ये हर बार करते हैं। जब मैं बाहर जाता हूँ ये करते हैं, जब लोग यहाँ आते हैं मैं करता हूँ। हमें मैसेज मिलता है कि हमें बताया गया है कि सरकार हमसे कहती है कि आपसे नहीं मिलना है। सरकार नहीं चाहती कि ऑपोजिशन के लोग बाहर के लोगों से मिलें।
All right, so Rahul Gandhi there alleging that there seems to be some kind of quote-unquote insecurity when it comes to foreign dignitaries visiting India, because he claims that the opposition and opposition leaders are never allowed to meet with global leaders. Priyanka Gandhi also speaking on this, I believe. Let's cut across.
बहुत अजीब बात है, ये प्रोटोकॉल होता है। कोई भी विजिटिंग डिग्नेटरी एलओपी से मिलते हैं और रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं तो मिलते हैं। तो इस प्रोटोकॉल का रिवर्सल मतलब इस सरकार की जो जनरल जो जितनी भी नीतियां हैं वो इसी आधार पर है। वो सब खुद घेरना चाहते हैं, कोई और आवाज़ को उठने ही नहीं देना चाहते, किसी और का कुछ पक्ष सुनना ही नहीं चाहते, और जो प्रोटोकॉल्स हैं उनको भी तोड़ रहे हैं। तो एक लोकतंत्र का प्रोटोकॉल होता है, उसको निभाना चाहिए।
Aishwarya now joining me live on Rahul Gandhi's comment there. Rahul Gandhi there speaking out, saying that there seems to be some kind of quote-unquote insecurity when it comes to foreign dignitaries being in India. He also claims that it would happen before that leaders from the opposition party would meet with these dignitaries. Aishwarya.
Well, certainly Rahul Gandhi, being the leader of opposition, sitting on a constitutional position, certainly saying that he is not allowed to meet the foreign leaders. It is insecure, secure that the government feels if the leader of opposition will meet. In fact, he went on to say that whenever he goes abroad as well, he has not been given permission by the government of India to meet the foreign dignitaries, and this time as well the same is happening. It is the insecure charge that Rahul Gandhi has leveled on the government. In fact, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra went on to say that in the past, whenever the foreign dignitaries come, be it from the government or from the opposition, top leaders used to meet these guests. But this is an insecurity of the government that they are not being allowed to meet the leader of opposition, be it of the Rajya Sabha or of the Lok Sabha, as both of these are the constitutional positions. And certainly whenever they meet as well, there are strict restrictions that had been imposed on them as far as the government is concerned.
Part of the protocol that we're going to see, or rather the visit of Vladimir Putin over the next day, Aishwarya, all right, I have Mr. Vadakan joining me on the phone line from the BJP. Mr. Vadakan, thank you for speaking with me here on Breaking Ground. We've just heard from Rahul Gandhi, and he claims that the government never lets the opposition or the leader of opposition meet with foreign leaders, dignitaries when they visit India. Your first comment on that?
Well, I know about the UPA era and how it was managed and manipulated. We had a prime minister then who was more of a yes-man to 10 Janpat and Sonia Gandhi. So whatever visitor comes to India had to call on her. And that is the kind of management that was going on. That was not protocol. That was dictatorship from 10 Janpat to the prime minister of the country at that time. So this kind of situation has changed. A lot of water has flown down the Yamuna. And this is a decision that who meets whom, the head of the state comes to India, and it is decided by the Russian embassy, who does the groundwork or the visiting time span. He's here for 24 hours. What are his engagements? These are decisions taken by them, and these answers will be given by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is not something that the political party can involve itself in. So let things take its own course.
What you could respond to them, Mr. Vadakan, is when Rahul Gandhi says perhaps there is a sense of insecurity.
Come again?
The question for you then, sir, is how do you respond to his claim when he says that perhaps there is a sense of insecurity?
Insecurity from whom? A man who has lost 95 elections? Is he talking about himself? I mean, I don't know anybody who says that he is the greatest Congress leader. Congressmen have started questioning. Now you are asking me a political question, and his insecurities are more important for him than for us. So, as a political person, I can say this much: he has his insecurities and is trying to play on this and trying to, grab headlines. Nothing more, nothing less.
All right, Mr. Vadakan, thank you for joining me here on Breaking Ground. Well, today, New Delhi turns into the center of global diplomacy as Vladimir Putin lands for his first India visit in years, and the first after the Ukraine-Russia war. This Modi-Putin summit isn't about ceremony, it's about recalibrating a decades-old partnership for today's realities. At the top of the table is defense. India is looking to push its modernization drive from exploring the S-500 missile shield to clarity on the Su-57 fifth-gen fighter program. Energy, industry, space and agriculture will round off the conversations, with New Delhi keen on long-term oil security, new investments and tech sharing that actually delivers on the ground. Civil nuclear cooperation and counter-terror coordination will also get a fresh push, steady, predictable areas where both sides know they gain. Putin arrives with a string of past praises for India's rise, from Chandrayaan-3 to India's economic growth under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On the streets, the optics will be unmistakable. The Aura Senath fortress on wheels, a 5-layer security ring, and a high-precision Russian advance team are already on the ground. At its core, the summit is simple. India wants deeper defense guarantees, cleaner energy deals, and a more balanced trade relationship, and Moscow needs a reliable Asian partner that it can trust. All eyes now on New Delhi and what the Modi-Putin handshake will deliver.
India for us is a great partner, and we do hope that the visit of President Putin will be successful. As successful was the visit of Prime Minister Modi 1 year ago to Moscow. President and Prime Minister had a very, very good possibility to spend lots of hours together discussing the most sensitive issues of the global and regional agenda. We hope that this will be the case for New Delhi meeting the day after tomorrow. There will be a very significant set of documents ready for signature during the visit. So we're looking forward for a great success.
We're looking forward to a great success. Vladimir Putin will be here. He will touch down in New Delhi at about 6:45 p.m. At 1 p.m. there will be special coverage on that visit of his. We're stepping to a short break at this point. I'll be back with more in moments from now.
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Namaste India. As you all know, I've been traveling around the world with my music. But this one is truly special. Something that's India. You all must have seen the magic that was created in Kun Faya Kun. Now it's your chance to experience it with me. So book your tickets from District app and together let's create harmony of hearts. See you Delhi.
Pulling us into this country.
They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
I just feel very privileged in the film industry, an industry that I'm extremely proud of.
I'm honored to receive this prestigious award.
I feel overwhelmed that the NDTV has chosen me for this very special award.
Thank you so very much. This means a lot to me.
It's a great honor and a great privilege.
Really blessed to get this and I'm really happy.
This is one of the few moments I'm going to be humble, so please record this properly, guys.
आज का दिन सबसे पहले जो फुट सोल्डर्स, जो प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स और जो टीम है उनको सेलिब्रेट करने का है.
And the NDTV Indian of the Year Award 2025 goes to
NDTV Indian of the Year 2025 19 दिसंबर सिर्फ NDTV नेटवर्क पर.
Two world leaders, one crucial meet. Putin says Namaste India. The bonhomie, the Big Bang deals.
भारत और रूस हमेशा कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर चले.
Strategic shifts and the global impact. NDTV tracks the high-stakes handshake. Modi-Putin summit on NDTV 24/7.
Front lines of Kargil, the fury of Operation Sindhu,
so many attacks.
The chaos and cries of disaster zones to fighter jet cockpits and the world's most defining interviews.
It's incredible.
He has seen history break. Live, unfiltered. 20,000 hours of live broadcasting.
Welcome to Left, Right and Centre.
Hard facts.
War-struck country.
Hard questions.
In the Ukraine.
30 years of trust.
In the Kargil area. North Ukraine. In France. In Italy. At Srinagar. And Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Vishnu Shom. Only on NDTV.
Across the country.
He has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. Aditya Rajkol, covering international affairs like no one else. Only on NDTV network.
The best app to use is the NDTV app.
दुनिया भर में जब भी भारतीय मीडिया की चर्चा होती तो एनडीटीवी सबसे पहले जिक्र में आता है।
मैं आपका बात से सहमत हूं, उल्टे हम भी जब विदेश जाते हैं, the best app to use is the NDTV app.
21 days in Kashmir. People have bombarded me, friends, with requests for an unfiltered list of things I saw and observed on
Amid rising tensions over the Karthigai Deepam ritual in Madurai's Thiruparantundram, senior Tamil Nadu officials have hit back at the BJP, denying allegations that the DMK government is acting against Hindu interests. The BJP claims authorities stopped devotees from lighting the traditional Deepam lamp on the ancient Deepathun pillar, despite a clear Madras High Court order allowing it. But last night, the hill turned into a flashpoint. Protesters clashed with police after being blocked from reaching the pillar, even as the area was sealed off. Government sources now say the petitioners' demand challenges long-standing tradition, arguing they cannot quote-unquote tamper with Hindu beliefs, even as questions grow over why the High Court permitted ritual was halted. Currently, that court hearing is underway in the matter.
Nobody is above law. When the High Court has given a very clean order, a judgment, that the lamp should be lit there. Because based on several judgments, this was done. We have to understand this. There was no objection from any Muslim outfits or any Muslim organizations. But wantedly, intentionally, government, in order to support, in the name of supporting Muslims, the government unnecessarily intervened here, and they have taken objection to the High Court's order. It is a constitutional breakdown.
DMK, the elected government, rather than playing the role of a moderator and ensuring peace and harmony among religion, is playing the role of religious divide in the state of Tamil Nadu. It's so unfortunate. The custodian of peace, the custodian of law and order, is acting at the interest of someone to please someone. It clearly indicates that DMK has started to play vote bank politics based on religion, based on caste. It's really unfortunate, and this incompetence of this government is going to cost big in the upcoming elections. This is highly condemnable.
There are people who want to create trouble between the Hindus and Muslims here in the state. The BJP is trying to create all kind of trouble among these people. So we want something to happen peacefully, without any problem. But what the Supreme Court had said is right. But still, there are people who want to create trouble using this. The trouble was recently created by BJP. That is why we are thinking. Otherwise, you know what BJP will do. What had happened earlier in Coimbatore and other places. They are most mischievous party. They want to divide people on caste religious lines and create a fight between these two groups.
Vijay joining me live from Madurai. Vijay, we've seen the face-off between the BJP and the DMK there. What's the latest on this flashpoint that you can share with our viewers?
You know, after a chaotic situation yesterday in Tirupparagundram, following the court order, and even Hindutva organization held a protest condemning the temple administration as they failed to allow to light the lamp in one of the hillock which they asked for, and even court order to do the same. But after there was an appeal filed by the state government. Just we are outside the Madurai bench of Madras High Court. Just now the argument between the state government and the petitioner side got over. Judge also observed various things on the very notably the state government argued that there was a chaotic situation, barricades were broken, and the petitioner along with the group came, and the policemen were assaulted on the incident. It was like a riot-like situation. He also said that the single bench judge was judicial overreach, order was judicial overreach. But however, judge observed that when there was he also questioned the petitioner when there was a time for state government to go for appeal of 30 days. Why immediately contempt of court was filed before the Madurai bench of Madras High Court. Even judge observed that communal harmony is important in that. He also reserved the order for 30 minutes. We hope by today we will get a detailed order from the Madurai bench.
All right, and we'll come back to you when that happens. Vijay, thanks for joining me live there. Moving on now, opposition MPs held a protest at the Parliament House complex against the air pollution in Delhi as the winter session enters day 4. Opposition also sought to hold a discussion in air pollution crisis that is being seen as the cause of several respiratory diseases, particularly among children and senior citizens. Congress MP Priyanka Gandhi had also said that issues such as air pollution need to be discussed in Parliament. 3 Congress MPs, Manikam Tagore, Manish Tiwari and Vijay Vasant, moved adjournment motion notices in the Lok Sabha to discuss the air crisis as they urged the centre to declare pollution as a national health emergency. Meanwhile, BJP has hit back asking whether Rahul Gandhi will speak on how Revanth Reddy's remarks polluted Sanatan. Meanwhile, Delhi's AQI stood at over 362 this morning.
सरकार की जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि वे कुछ करें। छोटे छोटे बच्चे धमा वाले मर रहे हैं, बुजुर्ग लोग मैं जैसी बहुत सारे हैं, उनके लिए भी मुश्किल है।
किस मौसम का मजा लें? बाहर देखें ना क्या स्थिति बनी हुई है। जैसे मैडम ने कहा, सोनिया जी ने कहा, छोटे छोटे बच्चे सांस नहीं ले पा रहे हैं, बुजुर्ग लोग इनकी तरह इनको दमा है, सांस नहीं ले पा रहे हैं रोज का। और ये हर साल ये स्थिति बिगड़ती जा रही है और हर साल सिर्फ बयानबाजी होती है, कोई ठोस एक्शन नहीं लिया जाता। ठोस एक्शन लेना है और हम सब ने बोला है कि सरकार एक्शन ले, हम सब साथ खड़े हैं। ये कोई राजनीतिक मामला नहीं है कि हम उंगलियां उठाएं एक दूसरे पे।
देखिए, आज मेरा ज़िरोआर भी लगा है और हम लोग प्रोटेस्ट करने भी जा रहे हैं। ये अति महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है। 2004 में भाजपा 2014 के भाजपा के एजेंडा में था कि हम एयर पोल्यूशन को कम करेंगे। आज 12 साल बीत गए, हम और आज अभी 300 AQI में खड़े हैं। ये सेंट्रल विस्टा का जहाँ काम हो रहा है वहाँ पे मजदूर 800 AQI में खड़े हैं। जो हालात हैं, तो क्या आप देश की राजधानी को ये चाहते हैं कि लोग दिल्ली छोड़ के भाग जाएं? ये अघोषित इमरजेंसी है, ये अघोषित लोगों के लिए अपराध है जो सरकार कर रही है। जितने भी सदन में बैठे हुए हम लोग हैं, हम सब दोषी हैं।
देखिए, आप देख रहे हैं कि पीछे विपक्ष के कुछ सांसद खड़े हैं। लोकतंत्र है, लोकतंत्र में अपने विषय को रखने का अधिकार सबके पास है। राहुल गांधी जी से पूछिए, कल उनके नेता रेवंत रेड्डी जी ने सनातन धर्म को प्रदूषित करने का जो काम किया था। पूछना चाहता हूं, जब अभी LOP पूछेंगे, मैं खड़े होकर देखना चाहता हूं क्या वाकई राहुल गांधी LOP के विरोध में बोलेंगे? क्या वाकई राहुल गांधी आज हिंदू धर्म के लिए जिस प्रकार के अपशब्द का प्रयोग किया गया है उसके लिए बोलेंगे, या वह भी जिहाद के साथ खड़े हुए नजर आएंगे?
Staying with Parliament, a controversy has erupted during the winter session of Parliament after Samajwadi Party MP Mohibullah Nadvi said that there is a need to wage jihad in order to fight the government oppression against Muslims. Calling the remarks callous, the BJP slammed Nadvi, saying that his remarks should be registered under criminal charges. Even BJP MP Jagdambika Pal said that Nadvi should be removed as MP. However, after stepping out of Parliament, Nadvi clarified his stance, saying that Muslims are mocked, demoralized and boycotted. Let's listen into the clarification and other reactions.
देखिए, पार्लियामेंट में हमें जो कहना था, जिस कंटेस्ट में कहा था, वो हम पार्लियामेंट में कह चुके हैं। और जिस तरह से आप लोग भी मुसलमानों का मीडिया तमाशा बना रहा है मुल्क में, ये खुद मुल्क के संविधान के खिलाफ है, मुल्क की मॉरलिटी के खिलाफ है और ये देश भक्ति के भी खिलाफ है। जिस तरह से मीडिया भी मुसलमानों का तमाशा बना रहा है, ऐसे किसी कम्युनिटी का, और उस कम्युनिटी का जिसने देश में कुर्बानियाँ सैकड़ों साल से दी हों, जिसके पूर्वज अभी मतलब वो पीढ़ी बाकी है जिसके बाप दादा ने मुल्क में कुर्बानियाँ दी हैं और कुछ लिया नहीं, आप ऐसी मतलब कम्युनिटी का एक तमाशा बनाने की कोशिश मीडिया के जरिए हो रही है। नहीं, प्लीज, थैंक यू।
अगर मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट जिहाद बोल रहे हैं तो उन्हें मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट रहने का कोई हक नहीं है। मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट खुद जो कानून बनाता हो, तो ये देश कानून से चलता है, देश संविधान से चलता है, और वो संविधान और कानून के बजाय देश को कहे कि जिहाद से चलेगा, तो फिर उनके बारे में कि वो भारत के संविधान में उनकी आस्था है कि नहीं। और वो मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट जो उस ज्वाइंट पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी ऑन वक्फ के मेंबर थे, निश्चित तौर से उन्हें अपने इस बयान को वापस लेना चाहिए, माफ़ी मांगना चाहिए।
मेरे हिसाब से ये अत्यंत आपराधिक बयान है। ये समाज में उपद्रव कराने वाला, समाज को हिंसा में झोंकने वाला बयान है। ये बयान दंगा कराने वाला बयान दिख रहा है। और ऐसे वो भले सांसद हों, लेकिन इनको देश का कानून, संविधान, इसका कड़ा आपराधिक धाराओं में इसको दर्ज करना चाहिए।
बहुत गैर जिम्मेदार है और हमारे सांसद हैं, उनको अपने मर्यादा का पालन करना चाहिए। हम लोग अपने ही सदन में इस प्रकार की भाषा का प्रयोग करें, और किसी मौलाना ने पहले किया होगा तो अलग विषय है, लेकिन सदन के बीच में आके इस प्रकार की भाषा का प्रयोग करना गलत है। विकास की राजनीति के लिए हम लोग को कमर कसनी चाहिए, हर पार्टी को कमर कसनी चाहिए। विकसित भारत आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का तो स्वप्न है, लेकिन पूरे देश का स्वप्न।
वो जिहाद की बात करते हैं तो शिक्षा के जिहाद की बात करें, वो बात करते हैं तो स्वास्थ्य के जिहाद की बात करें, वो बात करते हैं तो आतंकियों के खिलाफ जिहाद की बात करें, नक्सलवादियों के खिलाफ जिहाद की बात करें। परंतु इस प्रकार की सदन में जिहाद की बात करना, क्योंकि मोदी जी की सरकार में, एनडीए की सरकार में सभी वर्गों का समान विकास हो रहा है, और इस प्रकार के जिहाद की बात करने वालों के खिलाफ देश की जनता जिहाद करेगी।
Shifting focus to Haryana, where we bring you details of grisly murders committed by a woman identified as Poonam, accused of killing 4 children, including her son. And she was arrested for murdering her niece in Panipat on Wednesday. According to the Haryana police, Poonam killed those children because she did not want anyone to look more beautiful than her. That was a beauty complex that she was suffering from, and because of that, there are 4 children dead in the last 2 years. Poonam drowned her 6-year-old niece in a water tub on Monday when the entire family had gathered for a wedding function in Sonipat. She had earlier killed 3 children, and like I said, including her own son in 2023, whom she had murdered the same way as her niece by drowning.
हमने उसी की ही जो रिश्ते में चाची लगती है, उसको इसमें गिरफ्तार किया है। वजह जो उसकी हत्या करने की है, जोर से कल से पूछताछ जो हम डिटेल में की है, यही इन्होंने बताया कि जो सुंदर बच्चियां हैं उनसे इसको नफरत सी है। इन्हें पहले और भी कई खुलासे हुए हैं, इसने और भी 3 बच्चों की हत्या की हुई है पीछे। तो 2 तो सोनीपत में ही, जहाँ भावड़ में जहाँ ब्याह हुई है, जहाँ की शादीशुदा है, वहाँ भी 2 बच्चों की इसने 2023 में 2 बच्चों की पानी के होद में यूं डुबो के मार दिया था।
Murder most macabre there, but we're going to leave it at that. I'll be back with special coverage on the Russian president's visit to India. He lands in the national capital at about 6:45 p.m. We speak to many experts. We'll also get your voices from Russia. Stay tuned. What seems settled for me is unfinished business. So I rewind, I pause, I reflect, I dig until what's buried stands up to be counted. Breaking ground, not just headlines, the meaning behind them. This is Breaking Ground with me, Vedika Sud.
Namaste, India. As you all know, I've been traveling around the world with my music. But this one is truly special. Something that's India. You all must have seen the magic that was created in Kun Fayakun. Now it's your chance to experience it with me. So book your tickets from District app and together let's create harmony of hearts. See you, Delhi.
Pulling us into this country.
They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
I just feel very privileged in the film industry, an industry that I'm extremely proud of.
I'm honored to receive this prestigious award.
I feel overwhelmed that the NDTV has chosen me for this very special award.
Thank you so very much. This means a lot to me.
It's a great honor and a great privilege.
Really blessed to get this and I'm really happy.
This is one of the few moments I'm going to be humble, so please record this properly, guys.
आज का दिन सबसे पहले जो फुट सोल्डर्स जो प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स जो टीम है उनको सेलिब्रेट करने का है.
And the NDTV Indian of the Year Award 2025 goes to
NDTV Indian of the Year 2025 19 दिसंबर सिर्फ NDTV नेटवर्क पर.
Two world leaders, one crucial meet. Putin says Namaste India. The bonhomie.
Welcome back. In just about 5.5 hours from now, President Vladimir Putin will touch down in India for a 27-hour whirlwind visit. A visit being watched closely not just in Delhi but across the world. At a time of war, sanctions and shifting global alliances, this isn't just another bilateral trip. This is about diplomacy under pressure, defense deals under scrutiny, and a relationship that has survived decades of global churn. From cutting-edge military hardware to energy security, from strategic autonomy to global geopolitics, what does Putin's India visit really mean today? On the show this afternoon, special coverage, top experts, and the big questions behind one of the most closely watched visits of the year. I'm Vedika Sud. Let's take you through the headlines at this hour. Countdown to the big Putin visit. Putin touches down at 6:45 p.m. in the national capital. All eyes on Modi-Putin reunion. Energy, defense, diplomacy on the table. Indigo chaos continues. 200 flights cancelled yesterday. Around 180 expected to be cancelled today. Indigo officials called for a meeting by the DGCA. Delhi AQI near severe levels. Some areas breach 400 mark. Opposition asks centre to declare Delhi's air crisis a national public health emergency. Miffed Chief Minister of West Bengal and Trinamool Congress Chief Mamata Banerjee has suspended party MLA Humayun Kabir after his controversial proposal to build a Babri Masjid replica in Murshidabad. Deepam lighting controversy in the state of Tamil Nadu. The state government refuses to follow the High Court direction. BJP slams DMK government, accuses DMK of hurting sentiments. DMK hits back. Haryana's killer mom shocker. Woman held for serial child killings, including the murder of her own son. Jealousy drove woman to target these children. Investigations reveal grisly details. Today, New Delhi becomes the center of global diplomacy. Today, as Vladimir Putin lands for his first visit to India in years, and especially after the Ukraine war, it's his first visit to India. This Modi-Putin summit is less about optics and more about recalibrating a decades-old partnership. Defense, of course, will dominate the agenda. From India's interest in the S-500 missile shield to clarity on the Su-57 next-gen fighter program. Energy, industry, space, agriculture also on the table, with India pushing for long-term oil security and technology. Putin arrives with a string of past praises for India's rise from Chandrayaan-3 to India's economic growth under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The optics will be unmistakable. His Orasanath, fortress on wheels, and a multi-layer security ring already deployed. At its heart, India wants firmer defense guarantees and cleaner energy deals. Moscow wants a trusted Asian partner, and the world, especially Europe and the US, will be watching every move closely when it comes to this all-important visit. I'm joined by our guests this afternoon, Ambassador Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat, Lieutenant General Ajinder Singh, former DG Infantry, Professor Anuradha Shenoy, former Dean and Chairperson, Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, JNU, and Daria, NDTV correspondent, joins me live from Red Square. Daria, I'm going to come to you first. Good afternoon from India. We want to understand from you first up, how is President Putin's India visit being projected in the Russian media as diplomacy or defiance of the West or strategic necessity?
Well, it is a strategic partnership. That's how the Russian president himself has described the relationship between Moscow and New Delhi. And this is the way that the Russian media are portraying this all-important visit. That is also the beefing up of the relationship with the long-standing partner, because Moscow has been saying that its ties with India go back decades, and those are decades of friendly, amicable, and strategically important relationship that the two share. So the Russian president will be in India shortly, and for this visit, Moscow has been preparing for quite some time. They are expecting to make sure that they expand cooperation in different areas, including defense, including military cooperation, but also, obviously, paramount sector for Russia, energy. And they will be trying to make sure that their trade portfolio is much wider than just that, focused on energy.
Is this visit being portrayed domestically as a foreign policy success for President Putin, given the close ties with India, Daria? And it's his first visit to India ever since the Ukraine war.
Well, it is not just a success, it is an absolutely important step in further developing the relationship. We've seen Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi traveling to Russia. Now the Russian president is in India, and Moscow insists that this is very important in terms of the building up of the multipolar world order. Russian president has earlier been saying that Russia and India are close partners. They are dealing on absolutely various international platforms, including BRICS. They are trying to expand their bilateral trade and to make sure that it is conducted in national currencies. He has been speaking recently, suggesting that about 90% of the trade is being conducted in that. And he has been saying that trade turnover could actually increase, including completely different and new spheres where two countries can cooperate. So in Russia, that is seen as a foreign policy success, but also as an all-important step forward, boosting the ties that have always been very important for Moscow.
So does the Kremlin see this visit as a signal that Russia is not diplomatically isolated? Is that the messaging that is also going out at this point with this visit of the Russian president to India?
Well, it doesn't seem to be the case here in Moscow that Russia would have to reassert that it is not isolated. Russia has been insisting it is not isolated for almost 4 years. So in Russia, there is very strong perception that there is no need to reassure that. We have seen the strong international presence in Moscow when Russia was celebrating major events and holding important summits like BRICS summit in Kazan, like the 80th anniversary of the victory of Russia in the World War II. So for Russia, it is yet another confirmation of that. But obviously, that is sending a signal to the international community that Russia still has a very important role internationally. But for the Russian public domestically, it is not required to be reconfirmed. But obviously, they do welcome Russia diversifying and beefing its ties with the international partners.
So then, Daria, from the Russian perspective, from Kremlin's perspective, why is India especially important for Russia at this moment amid the Ukraine war, the Western isolation? We want to understand the perspective coming from Moscow on this.
Well, for Russia, behind the words of strategic partnership and long-standing alliance with India, there is a very important angle here that is related to energy trade. And Russia has rediversified its routes of trade in terms of energy resources, and India has become Russia's second largest client. Obviously, this is not an easy way of dealing business at this stage, given the numerous international sanctions, and most recently sanctions imposed by the United States against Russia's two major oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. And the Russian president will be trying to make sure that energy keeps flowing, because that is also important for the filling of the Russian budget, that is in turn spending more on the military needs. So definitely for Moscow, that visit is important in terms of building partnership and making sure that current arrangements still stand. They are expecting also to find new ways of dealing with India without the interference of third countries. That has been the position from Moscow. And obviously, there are other areas in which the two countries can cooperate. So those will be explored during this visit. And obviously, the experts have already been working on elaborating how that could proceed. And this visit will be most likely reconfirming those arrangements.
So what are President Putin's top priorities from this India trip, Daria? Defense, energy, diplomacy, geopolitics, and a messaging perhaps going out that we have a great partner in India?
Yeah, altogether, primarily, obviously, energy, defense cooperation as well, with Russia for decades being India's key supplier of defense equipment. We understand that there could be more deals on the S-400 air defense systems, as well as the development of Su-57 fighter jets, as well as the issues related to the nuclear energy, those used for the civilian infrastructure and civilian economy. We also understand that they will be talking about migration. That's another angle where Russia is really willing to expand its cooperation with India. The labor shortage in Russia is about 500,000 people in different areas, and this is exactly where India could be of much synergy to Russia in that sense. So certainly the Russian president will be looking to see support, international one, that is very important, international messaging, especially given that India has been approached by the United States on numerous occasions that are related to how the two are dealing on the international stage.
How crucial is India for Russia's defense exports, Daria, at a time when Western markets are more or less closed?
Well, what Russia is saying is that it is willing to supply to the countries that are interested. Russia has a wide portfolio of different countries where it is supplying its military hardware. So obviously it is important for Russia to keep working with India on that, but also keep in mind that Russia is holding the military operation in Ukraine, and Russia has needs of its own. So it would be on overestimation to say that Russia has many different clients, but obviously Russia would like to remain an important partner of India in that sense.
All right, and how does the Kremlin balance its growing dependence on China with its long-standing strategic ties with India, Daria? It's a fine balance, really, given, the strategic
Moscow
issues with China and India.
Well, Russia has been saying that its relationship with China and its ties with India are different. So we see those very different tracks, but also we see all the three countries cooperated on the platform of BRICS, as well as the international organization. So for Moscow, it is all important to make sure that its bilateral track with India goes well. And Russia has been saying that it is important that the countries can manage their differences through the use of dialogue. So Russia is expecting that any differences that there could be between its other partners could be resolved by them internationally. In the meantime, Russia will be building mutually beneficial cooperation and partnership with the countries of the world.
Daria, let's just focus to Narendra Modi, India's Prime Minister, as well as Vladimir Putin. We know of the historic ties between the two countries, but how does the media see this growing bonhomie that they've had for so long now, Prime Minister Modi and Vladimir Putin?
Well, we've heard in the media reports how the Russian president was talking about his relationship with India, saying that there is also a very important personal angle in his ties with Narendra Modi, suggesting that that is also special and privileged ties that the two have. They have an opportunity of frank discussions of difficult matters that are on the table, and that is obviously going to impact the overall course of the development of the bilateral relationship with these two countries.
Right. And is there an unease in Moscow about India's deepening partnership with the US and the Quad? You said that in terms of Moscow, they see the Kremlin, they see ties with China as ties with China, ties with India as ties with India. But what about India's ties with the US and the Quad?
Well, Russia says that it is the sovereign matter of India and how it deals with its other partners, and Moscow doesn't want to interfere in any affairs that India might have with the United States, because Russia has been saying that its relationship with India should be free from the interference of third countries, and that would be the case also for India when it comes to dealing with the US.
Daria, before I let you go, what would be considered a successful outcome of this visit from the Kremlin's point of view?
Well, it does seem that the figures of the trade balance would be indicative of the success of President Vladimir Putin's trip to India. But obviously, we understand that energy is top of the agenda, and we will be looking at the deals and the arrangements signed during this trip.
Daria, thanks for joining us live from Moscow there. That's the NDTV correspondent Daria bringing us perspective from Moscow just about 5 hours ahead of President Vladimir Putin's visit to the national capital. Every aspect of it, of course, will be covered here on NDTV. Vishal also, I believe, is going to be joining me live now from Bharat Mandapam. If we can cut across to Vishal as well, who has been tracking all the developments that are taking place ahead of the core meetings that will happen between, of course, the Russian president as well as the Prime Minister and representatives on both sides. Vishal, over to you. What's happening behind you?
Well, at least 1,000 people have congregated here from across India and Russia. We'll see Vladimir Putin here tomorrow when he comes and meets the Indian business leaders here. I'll show you what kind of arrangements have been made to welcome him. Today also there's a session going on. There will be a session going on around 2:30. Delegates from both the countries have assembled here. You can see at least 500 to 600 people are already sitting here. We will have some senior ministers from the Russian side who will also visit today. They'll have a joint session. They'll take questions from the press. Then only we'll get to know what kind of discussions they've had. But the main area of focus will definitely be how to, improve the Russian side when it comes to having skilled workers, because it's been widely reported that the Russian side lacks when it comes to the skilled workers component. So that will be one of the main, areas of discussion as far as the business forum is concerned. also how to improve both sides' economic ties. There is a trade imbalance when it comes to the Russian side. It's heavily, bent towards the Russian side because the trade has reached an all-time high of almost $70 billion. But it's, as I mentioned, quite bent towards the Russian side. And that's mostly owing to the fact that India has imported a lot more oil from the Russian side in the last 3-4 years.
Right.
So that will also figure in the discussion for sure when both the leaders meet. So these are some of the things that will definitely be talked about.
All right, Vishal, we keep coming back to you for more, but I want to once again reintroduce our guests this afternoon on this special coverage. We have Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat, who's been patiently standing by. Thank you so much, sir. We first want to get that report in from Moscow. We also have Lieutenant General Rajinder Singh, former DG Infantry, and Professor Anuradha Chinoy as well, who will be joining us live. But first, let me go to you, Ambassador. According to you, what is the core diplomatic signal of President Putin choosing India for a high-profile visit at this moment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Vedika, for having me. It's a very significant visit, as you've been discussing with Daria and with your colleague Vishal. You know, as you mentioned, this is the first time that Prime Minister Modi will be receiving President Putin in India after the advent of the Russia-Ukraine conflict in February 22. Now, we have also seen that President Putin doesn't travel all that much to different parts of the country, particularly over the last 3-4 years. He's not been going. He goes either to the former Soviet Union countries, Central Asia, Belarus, etc., etc. He goes to China, goes to North Korea. He goes to, Saudi Arabia. He'd gone once. But otherwise, all the other major international meetings, congregations, whether it was G20 in Bali in 22, or to India, or to South Africa or Brazil, he's not been going to any one of those. So I think this is very, very special that he is coming here to India. And that is definitely, as a result, meaning this is signaling to the world that this is a strong relationship, this is a strong partnership. And the manner in which India has conducted itself has a huge role to play in that, because notwithstanding huge pressures coming from the West, India has not criticized or condemned Russia directly for the aggression against Ukraine, although we have said that, the principles and charter of the United Nations in terms of preservation of territorial integrity and sovereignty, they need to be respected. And Prime Minister Modi was the first one to tell Putin in September 22 in Samarkand, on the sidelines of the SCO summit, that this is not an era of war, and that dialogue and diplomacy should be used. No resolution of any conflict can be found on the battlefield. So Prime Minister Modi's, India's stance has been very, very clear. But on the bilateral, so, there are both global geopolitical implications of the visit. Very quickly, I'll finish here, Vedika.
Yes, Ambassador.
And there are bilateral elements of the implications, ramifications of the visit.
Yes.
And in the bilateral context, in addition to nuclear power, defense, energy, etc., I think how to upscale the trade in terms of our exports to Russia, that is going to be a very important element. There is going to be discussion on India is negotiating entry, having an FTA, the Eurasian Economic Union, and also in terms of the mobility of Indian talent, skilled and unskilled workers to Russia. I think these are important areas.
All right. And I'm going to come back to you, Ambassador, but Professor Chinoy, thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Breaking Ground and on this special coverage. I want to understand from you, President Putin's India visit comes at a time when the Ukraine war, of course, is ongoing and there's deep global polarization. How significant is this visit, ma'am, in today's geopolitical climate?
I think it's very significant, one, because both India and Russia are invested in constructing a multipolar international system, and there is a kind of a pressure to retain the old unipolarity, as you can see from many of the Western countries. But Russia and India have been firm on it, and they are backed by most of the global South on this. Second, global supply chains have been disrupted because of the US's tariff and their whole methodology of trying to reassure manufacturing in a forced way into the US, and therefore blocking other countries. And so India has suffered from these tariffs, as you know, 50% tariffs, 25% additional because of its energy partnership with Russia. But India has shown resilience. And I think the Russians and President Putin recognizes that. It has been like a bailout for the Russian economy to some extent. Of course, there are others also, like China, Indonesia, and others who take the energy. But India has been a special partner at a very difficult time for Russia, which they see as an existential crisis. They see their war, but it seems also that this war is slowly winding down because of Russian victories all along their line of
the border, yes,
on their border, on the Ukraine-Russian border. And there are talks ongoing between the US and Russia, and there is an attempt to break this by President Trump. Of course, there are a lot of issues and complexities involved, and we don't know which way it will ultimately go because war has its own logic.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think, and it seems that Russia's victory, at least on the ground level, is clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so President Putin is really coming at a time of two strategic victories from the side of the global South. A strategic victory in terms of the tariff wars have not succeeded. And second, that the proxy war against Russia has also not succeeded.
All right, and Lieutenant General
good
Rajinder Singh, I'm going to come to you in a moment from now. We're going to talk all things military. But before that, we have a report for our viewers. Of course, President Vladimir Putin is expected in about 5 hours from now, and there's a determination to deepen ties between India and Moscow. Putin will be here for the 23rd India-Russia annual summit. Both the countries now aim to expand bilateral trade to about $100 billion by 2030. And defense, viewers, is at the center of this meet ahead of Putin's visit. Watch this report.
A crown jewel of Russian weaponry in the Indian arsenal, the S-400, used in combat for the first time this year during Operation Sindoor. The roar of the missile sets an unmissable mood. As the Russian president arrives in India, the focus is largely economy and trade. But defense and weapons are a permanent sweetener in this relationship. Putin's visit this week injects fresh momentum into one of the world's most enduring strategic partnerships. Putin isn't coming empty-handed. The Russian delegation arrives armed with proposals that could reshape India's future military power. Co-production of the S-500 missile defense system, Russia's most advanced shield against ballistic missiles and hypersonic threats. And a pitch of Su-57 fifth-generation stealth fighters, a jet Russia believes can be the spearhead of India's air dominance in the 2030s. No deals will be signed during Putin's visit, but the flavor is clear. Russia is still India's #1 supplier of weapons and military hardware. The Indian Air Force remains the heaviest operator of Russian aviation outside Russia itself. The flagship Sukhoi 30 MKI air dominance fighter is the Indian Air Force's mainstay combat aircraft. Add to that the MiG-29s, IL-76 transports and Mi-17 helicopters, and the Russian imprint is unmissable. The Indian Army's brute force is still powered by Russian platforms, from T-90 and T-72 main battle tanks to BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles to the Smerch rocket systems that form the backbone of India's long-range artillery punch. And at sea, the Russian connection runs deep, from aircraft carrier INS Vikramaditya to the super silent Kilo-class submarines to the Talwar-class stealth frigates. The famous BrahMos, named after the Brahmaputra and Moskva rivers, is a shining symbol of the Indian-Russian partnership. It was this weapon, fired from the air, that brought devastation to Pakistan's air bases during Operation Sindoor. With shifting geopolitics, India has diversified its import sources, becoming a major customer of US weapons in recent years. But Putin's visit could reaffirm who continues to rule the roost. An NDTV Bureau report.
Before I go to Lieutenant General Singh, I want to bring to you some details that you must know of when it comes to the imports being made from Russia when it comes to military equipment. As you can see, in 2020, we were high on aircraft. And then now, in 2024, 65.7% of the imports in terms of arms is ships. Interesting to see that change. It was first aircraft, in between it was missiles, and now it's ships. Going to Lieutenant General Singh at this point. Sir, how critical is it when it comes to India's overall military preparedness compared to a decade ago when it comes to the imports that we are seeing from Russia?
Vedika, I think before I answer that question, there are one or two things which I would like to make.
Of course, go ahead.
And one is that as far as the defense cooperation is concerned between India and Russia, that is actually the core part of the relationship between our two countries. And this has assumed even more importance after the recent operations in Op Sindoor, where many of these weapon systems, which were jointly produced with Russian help, have performed fabulously, like BrahMos missile and others. Thirdly, is the issue as to what are we looking at as far as our defense needs are concerned. Today, we are looking at Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are looking at Make in India program. We are looking at transfer of technology. The Western world, the United States, is not willing to give us this. So the best friend that we have as far as transfer of technology is concerned is Russia. And that is why this relationship between our two countries assumes even more importance. Third is that our relationship with Russia is not only to fulfill our needs, it is also a signal to the Western world and to the rest of the world of our strategic autonomy. In our relations with all the countries, we would like to have relationship based on our own interest. Whichever is the relationship which suits our interests the best, we will adopt it. We will not do it at the diktats of others. This has been our core point of relationship even earlier. This has further got strengthened after Mr. Modi came to power. And our recent stand on oil imports and all from Russia is actually a case in point. Now, coming on to this particular visit, the focus is going to be, as far as the military cooperation is concerned, it is going to be on Russian technology transfer. We are fully aware that India has got to do a tense tightrope walk in this particular visit. because a large number of countries in the Western world, including 3 of their diplomats recently, have written editorials criticizing this particular visit, which is basically a signal to India that they don't quite like it. But having said that, as far as India-Russia relationship is concerned, this is as strong as ever. And as far as our various points and agenda are concerned, we are going to have discussions on accelerating the nuclear power plant. We are going to focus on defense and trade, as Ambassador has mentioned. And we are going to also be discussing the trade and oil imports. As far as our weapons, I'll just take 1 minute.
Yes.
As far as our weapon systems are concerned, Air Force is looking at further strengthening S-400 air defense system and probably getting some more of those. Joint production of S-500 anti-missile system would also probably be discussed. Talks on production of Su-57 stealth fighters could also be discussed in this. And as far as Navy is concerned, we are going to talk about frigates, which you have mentioned in your report.
Yes.
Besides the Chakra 3 third nuclear power attack submarine that India is currently leasing from Russia.
All right.
As far as army is concerned, the list is enormous.
All right.
Basically, it relates to tanks and the AK-203 rifles.
Okay, sir. But I want to shift focus now to trade as well. Despite shifting global alliances and rising geopolitical headwinds, India's ties with Russia are not just steady, they're really expanding, from discounted oil imports that have reshaped India's energy basket to cutting-edge defense deals and a bold push on nuclear power and connectivity through the INSTC. This is a partnership that is transforming, and this report breaks down the numbers.
India's trade with Russia is at its highest ever, nearly 12 times what it was a decade ago. Fueled largely by India's purchases of discounted Russian crude. At the same time, Indian companies are pushing deeper into Russia's market with pharmaceuticals, machinery, food products, and IT services. Oil remains the biggest pillar. November imports hit a 5-month high, even as Washington tightened sanctions on Russian producers.
We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian oil, that is China. We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian LNG. We are a country where actually the Americans said for the last few years that we should do everything to stabilize the world energy markets, including buying oil from Russia. Incidentally, we also buy oil from America, and that amount has been increasing.
Both sides now aim for $100 billion by 2030. Key to that target, new connectivity. The international north-south transport corridor is increasingly moving cargo at scale. And the planned Chennai-Vladivostok Sea Link aims to connect India's east coast directly to Russia's far east. Civil nuclear cooperation remains strong. Rosatom continues supplying fuel and technology for projects like the Kudankulam plant, a partnership Russia says India chose when other countries hesitated. Defense ties, despite India's diversification push, remain central. From submarines to air defense systems, Russian equipment still forms a large part of India's arsenal. Joint drills and upgrades to the Su-30 fleet keep the partnership active. India and Russia are also in talks to finalize a major deal for 5 more S-400 regiments, which would bring India's total to 10, one of its biggest long-range air defense deployments. From crude to nuclear fuel, from defense hardware to new transport corridors, the India-Russia economic story remains broad and resilient. And despite geopolitical pressure, both sides appear determined to deepen a relationship shaped by long-term strategic interests. Bureau Report for NDTV World.
All right, so the big story remains the visit of the Russian president to India. To my guests, apologies, we're running out of time, but we've heard your perspectives and we will come back to you once we have the president in the country. A lot of perspectives welcomed on this, on the experts joining us all day today. But let's also talk more about the imports and exports when it comes to Russia and India. I'm first going to put up the trade exports. Mineral fuels, oils and waxes, fertilizers, animal, vegetable fats, project goods, as well as other precious and semi-precious stones. That's data that we're getting to you from the government. That's extremely important when it comes to the imports and exports. These are the exports that we're talking about. Let's go to the next page now and talk about the imports as well. Extremely important when it comes to Russia and imports, because it's not oil, as we all assume it's going to be the biggest import in terms of what we're getting in from them. It's pharmaceutical products, but the big one being nuclear reactors, machinery and mechanical appliances, organic chemical, electrical machinery and sound recorders and seafood, but the top one there being nuclear reactors, machinery and mechanical appliance. All right, let's talk more about the two leaders. Modi-Putin meet will be as much about the bromance as it will be about the Big Bang deals. The Prime Minister and the Russian President share a great rapport. In fact, last time the two met at the BRICS summit in Tianjin in China, Putin offered PM Modi a ride in his car.
It was an extraordinary sight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin spending 45 minutes together inside a limousine, talking one-on-one, away from aides, cameras and protocol. The leaders have showcased their bonhomie time and again. Last year, Putin personally took the driver's seat, giving PM Modi a ride in his electric car, a rare gesture between world leaders. As Putin arrives in New Delhi for the 2025 summit, these moments of unusual informality highlight a friendship that has shaped one of India's most enduring strategic relationships. The Modi-Putin relationship has always had a personal touch, an ease and warmth that goes beyond the formalities of diplomacy. Despite global tensions, particularly over Ukraine, India and Russia have kept their relationship steady. New Delhi continues strategic engagement with Moscow. The latter, meanwhile, repeatedly describes India as a trusted partner. From defense production and nuclear energy to oil imports and space cooperation, the strategic pillars remain strong. The unmistakable comfort between Modi and Putin has added a unique dimension, a bromance as some headlines call it. From a 45-minute limousine conversation to a personal EV ride, Modi and Putin continue a diplomatic friendship unlike any other on the global stage. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
And many times in the past, you've heard from Vladimir Putin and him commending Prime Minister Modi as well as India. Let's begin with some of those quotes that we have put out for you. In September in 2019, you had Putin say that India-Russia ties are based on friendship and mutual benefit. And then after that also in 2023, he did commend the Chandrayaan mission, calling it proof of India's impressive scientific progress. In Jan 2020, on Republic Day in 2024, you had Putin also say that India is demonstrating highest economic growth rates globally. So very often you've heard from President Putin commend both India as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who he calls a close friend. In July 2024, Putin said Modi devoted his life to serving people. And then again in 2024 in December, he said investment in India is profitable. You've seen the imports and exports figures also showing that it's not only strategic ties but economic ties also between the two countries, which is of prime importance to both the leaders. And then in 2025, Modi, very wise leader who puts nation first, is something that Vladimir Putin has said. All right, we also want to talk about how Putin is seen as this viral sensation because of his love for dogs and the outdoors. There are many images of the man that have led to it going absolutely viral on the internet. Here's a report.
He's not just one of the most powerful men in the world, but also the most viral. Breaking the internet one picture at a time. One of the most iconic photos and one of the first shirtless images to nearly break the internet is of a shirtless Putin in August 2009, riding a horse while on vacation in southern Siberia. The same year, he was also photographed sunbathing, fishing and hiking. Then came this bare-chested photograph of the Russian leader taking a dip in the frigid cold waters of Lake Seliger, located about 5 hours northwest of Moscow. Putin was celebrating the Epiphany, which in Eastern Christianity commemorates the baptism of Jesus Christ. When not outdoors, Putin loves to chill with his dogs. He has 3, including an Akita breed dog, Yumi, Buffy, a Karakakan dog gifted to him in November 2010 by then Bulgarian Prime Minister. A pair of dogs was also personally gifted to him by Kim Jong-un. Turkmenistan president also presented a shepherd dog to Putin, as did his Kyrgyz counterpart. Then there is buzz about his face. The Russian president's smooth forehead, rosy cheeks and wrinkle-free eye area have triggered buzz about his use of Botox. The rumors of his Botox use first emerged in 2012 when he showed up to a meeting in Kiev sporting a massive blue and yellow bruise around his eye. Putin's spokesman was forced to issue denials. Reports suggest that when Putin travels abroad, his waste is collected by his security team, sealed and sent back to Russia to prevent foreign intelligence from analyzing his health. His bodyguards reportedly stay with him even during private moments, including bathroom visits. NDTV Bureau Report.
And with that, we're going to be slipping to a short break. I'll be back with more in moments from now. Stay tuned.
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं
और आप
घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Front lines of Kargil, the fury of Operation Sindhu,
so many attacks,
the chaos and cries of disaster zones, to fighter jet cockpits, and the world's most defining interviews.
It's incredible.
He has seen history break, live, unfiltered. 20,000 hours of live broadcasting.
Welcome to Left, Right and Centre.
Hard facts.
War-struck country.
Hard questions.
In the Ukraine.
30 years of trust.
In the Kargil area.
North Ukraine. In France, in Italy. At Srinagar. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Vishnu Shom. Only on NDTV.
Across the country.
He has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. Aditya Raj Kaul, covering international affairs like no one else. Only on NDTV network.
The best app to use is the NDTV app.
दुनिया भर में जब भी भारतीय मीडिया की चर्चा होती है तो एनडीटीवी सबसे पहले जिक्र में आता है।
मैं आपका बात से सहमत हूं, उल्टे हम भी जब विदेश जाते हैं, the best app to use is the NDTV app.
21 days in Kashmir. People have bombarded me, friends, with requests for an unfiltered list of things I saw and observed on the ground.
Very special ground report from the line of control. There were some children who've lost limbs in the shelling.
They are now India's smallest but possibly the most powerful crime family. Cough syrup has killed at least 25 children. Gaikwad sahab, aise mat kijiye. Suddenly people are wondering about the weaponization of India-Pakistan cricket. We live and breathe elections. You will not believe your eyes or ears when I show you what I'm about to do.
And for a country that has fought so many wars in the mountains and at high altitude,
we're standing on